I want you to imagine a dragon. Now, was your dragon blue, green, purple, pink, rainbow? What color was your dragon? Comments down below. Hello, my fellow GMs. Welcome to this week's episode of How to Be a Great GM. Yes, indeed. Already you should have started to see some benefit towards your GMing, I'm hoping. And if you have, hit that like button, or the subscribe button, or just the bell button. Any kind of interaction. Or leave a comment saying, yes, I have benefited. Or, nay, I hath not benefited, for I art not something. I don't know. Fell apart there. Shakespeare, always tricky. I used to love Shakespeare in high school, actually. Anyway, so that aside, we can get on with it. We're talking about your imagination. I have spoken about this many times on the channel, but I think it bears repeating, as I had a rather remarkable encounter whilst I was in Africa visiting family this past few months. And I encountered a father and a son who had an interesting approach to imagination insofar as that they tried to avoid having it all together and were very much about reality and really struggled to put themselves into alternative kind of positions, not physically, but as in mentally, as in imagine that you're a this or imagine that you're a that. Really, it was an absolutely foreign concept to them. However, after digging around for a while, eventually I discovered what they were interested in, and that was being spies trying to invade Russia, of course, that being very topical and very, very, very dastardly and diabolical. Nonetheless, once I found out what they were interested in, well, that unlocked a whole new world and we could start to roleplay. What does this have to do with imagination? Well, imagination, as you'll know if you've watched this channel before, is based on 4 principles. There are 4 things that make up your imagination, and you can practice them, you can rehearse them. Well, I wouldn't suggest rehearsing them. Let me rephrase that. You can practice them, you can repeat them, you can develop them, you can grow them, and you can make use of them more and faster the more you practice. So I know it's one of those scary things where you're going, oh, well, I just don't have a good one. Nonsense. You just haven't practiced it enough. Think about people who are creative and you go, oh, they're so creative. Yeah, probably because they're being creative all the time. They're trying out different things. They're applying these 4 different principles. And generally speaking, we'll be doing them and failing a lot. What are these 4 principles? Well, before we go there, World Anvil, I know I've spoken about World Anvil before. There's a reason for it. Our imaginations are phenomenal. They are absolutely massive. And when we start creating our own world spaces, worlds are huge. Titanic. Think about all of the amazing and wonderful things that you could write about just on your hometown. Even if you lived under a rock in the middle of nowhere, you would still have a phenomenal amount of information that you could pour out based on your life, wherever that happens to have come from. Now, how do you keep track of all of this stuff? How do you log it? How do you make it actually usable and accessible rather than just this giant disgorge of information? Well, that's where World Anvil comes in. It stores everything. It keeps everything in one place. It catalogs stuff. You can link stuff together so one article can reference another article. So you can keep everything in one place, safe and secure. World Anvil, the best place on the internet for creating your world space and keeping your ideas and theories and imagination safe. Use the code GREATGM for a discount when signing up for one of their higher tiers, although you don't have to. It is free to use for most options. Anyway, big thank you to World Anvil for sponsoring this video, as well as for sponsoring the channel for so long. They really have been great partners with us, bringing great GMing to you for years. Anyway, let's talk about those 4 aspects of imagination. I never know which one to start with because they're all fairly vital, they're all fairly valid, they're all fairly useful. So let's start with the easiest of the lot. Experience. Experience is the easiest of the lot. The more experiences you have, the better you'll be. No, that's completely false. That is not at all what I'm saying. The more aware you are of your experiences, the better you'll be. What I mean by that is, if you go for a horse ride, or you go for a bike ride, or you go for a bus ride. Experiencing that bus ride, experiencing the horse ride, experiencing the bike ride, all of those things are great. And we do these on a day-to-day basis. Me going to go and make another cup of coffee, that's an experience. Me trying to make sure that my moustache stays upright rather than sagging down and using the wrong wax so that it collapses halfway through a video, that's an experience. It means nothing to us as GMs or as storytellers until we are cognizant of those experiences and we can remember back to them and go, oh yes, I remember with the whole waxing thing, I was super excited and I got wax all over my hands. I got it all over the kitchen, the bathroom sink. I got it kind of everywhere. I think I used too much. It smells great, but it's not working because I need something that's stronger perhaps, or I need to do it for longer before it'll start to take effect. This is not a male grooming video. This is me starting to draw on all of those experiences and remembering, okay, there was frustration, there was excitement, there was anxiety, there was definite disappointment that came along with that. And all of that kind of gets bundled up into the smell of cedar wood, which is the aroma that they put into this particular flavor, the texture, the taste, which I wouldn't recommend. All of those things go into the experience. What does this have to do with GMing? Well, the next time I have a villain or a nemesis or a hero character or an NPC, the next time I have them trying to do something and failing at it, I can pull back and remember my mustache waxing moment and go, I had all of those different emotions. The NPC or the villain or the nemesis or whoever can have those emotions too. And swear and curse at the trebuchet because, well, I did it according to the instructions and the stupid thing, look at it. I had such high hopes. It was going to throw this rock so far and it didn't. Is it because of something that I did? Am I the one who's at fault? Did I not build the trebuchet correctly? I thought I followed all of the instructions. Maybe I just needed to build a bigger trebuchet, or maybe I needed to use less weight or more weight, or that's a more interesting response than the NPC going, the trebuchet is not working. There's no room for anyone to get involved there. There's no room for the PCs to go, well, look, yes, the trebuchet didn't work, but it's not your fault. We just need to look at the design maybe. There's nothing for the PCs to latch onto. It's just an angry piece and an NPC. It's not an invalid response. It's just a limited response. Look at all the dialogue that NPC suddenly had based on me remembering how I did or did not actually wax my mustache. That's what I mean when I talk about taking experience and cataloging it and storing it away and going, oh yes, okay, that's a good experience for me to kind of draw from later on. The next one that you can do actively. So with experience, you've got to be looking at your experiences, cataloging them, adding, reflecting upon them, breaking them down into the emotional kind of feelings that you were having. The next one you have is research. And research is something that you can actively do and that we do passively all the time. Sometimes we do it too passively. If you're watching one of those amazing Discovery Channel documentaries on, timber men or gold men or mine men or dirt men or rubbish men or porn men or whatever men, they're those big series where it's like, Jake's got to haul in 500 tons of timber before it turns to winter. Will he make it? And you're like, yes, of course he's going to make it. But anyway, I diverge. Even just watching those documentaries or those sort of dramatized series, you learn stuff that you haven't ever been exposed to before. I could now tell you a whole bunch of stuff about lumberjacks in Alaska. I've never been to Alaska. I've never met a lumberjack. I myself have cut a branch off of a tree, but I've never actually cut a tree down. But I have watched those documentaries. I have done my research on lumberjacking, and now I can tell you a whole lot of stuff about lumberjacking. When you are watching stuff, pay attention to what you're watching. If you're on your phone all the time and that's not research. What you're doing on your phone is research. All of the other stuff is passive. We don't learn by osmosis, sadly. We learn by actively engaging. Often people say, how do you have such a big general knowledge? Well, because if I'm watching something, I focus on it and I try and look at it and go, oh, that's interesting. That's how they do that. I try to understand it. So when you are doing research, when you are reading a history book, when you are walking past a museum by accident, or preferably by choice, you're going into a museum, you are doing research, provided that you are tying it back to yourself. You need to understand, oh, I see. So the war chief, if he had a cloak made out of 10,000 feathers from a particular type of bird, he had a certain status. Why would that happen? Well, because catching those birds is particularly difficult. It requires a lot of hours to make that cloak. I can see the status. I can understand the process. So now if my characters encounter an orcish war chief and the orcish war chief's cloak is made out of 1,000 teeth from a certain monster, it's going to weigh a lot, but that could show how heavy it is and how strong the war chief is to be able to walk around with a cloak made out of teeth from a specific monster, or how many monsters the war chief. I can now take that research and add it to my own capacity because I understand why it was done. That means I can draw on it. So now, not only have I got research, which is giving me my ability to draw on certain things and to understand how those processes are made, I've got my experiences, which are informing the emotional responses that I would have. How did I feel when I got my GM cloak, which you may or may not have seen from time to time? It's a beautiful handcrafted cloak, which took a long time. There was quite a lot of emotional content involved in that as well, but I don't want other people to touch it. It's mine. I want to be protective of it. I can draw that together and I can make that NPC suddenly have great dialogue, great emotional responses from almost nowhere. Well, it's not from nowhere. It's from being aware of our experiences and our research. The third thing that I love to do, because this is something that I do whenever I go to conventions, and now with the world opening up, once again, thank goodness, the convention scene is opening up, is I love to use Freeform Association. And Freeform Association is where you are taking different things that don't seem to have anything to do with each other, and you're building a narrative out of that by using your research to understand why the certain things might be linked together, as well as to use your experiences, which would tell us an emotional journey, an emotional story as to where those things came from. An easy example is the next time you're sitting watching people pass you by, look at someone's shoes, look at their belt, and look at their haircut. Maybe you want to look at their watch, although a lot of people, I wear a Fitbit now. It is a watch technically, but I don't really use it for the time. Look at some of those components. Try and work out whether the person has got money, whether the person is poor, whether the person recently got money or had money but then lost the money. Look at all of those kind of things. Look at those things as clues. Build them up, try to link them together. If it's scruffy shoes but a new belt or a new haircut, okay, that means they have some money. They still want to take pride in their appearance, but they don't have enough money to buy a new pair of shoes. So they may be sort of middle income-ish. I mean, I'm projecting a whole bunch of things here, but this is part of the exercise. So that the next time your party encounters an orcish war chief, in order to portray the orcish war chief as being super powerful but recently come to power, they might not have a complete cloak of teeth. It might only be half a cloak. Or they might not have as much regalia as the previous war chief. Or if you want to say that the war chief had great power and status once but has lost it, well, now all of their equipment is old, it's battered, it's banged around, it's no longer polished and shiny as you might expect it to be, because the war chief has no longer got so much power, they don't care so much, they've kind of faded away. Very, very simple examples of how to use Freeform Association as you're describing things. Another way of doing it is to be able to come up with a crazy and wonderful idea. So when I asked you at the beginning of the video to think about your dragon, you didn't really have very much constraints to work on. I just said dragon. Depending on where you are from all over the world, you might have thought of many different types of dragons. You might have thought of different colors of dragons, all those kinds of things. But if I said to you, I want you to think of a dragon, I want you to think of a bottle, and I want you to think of the sound of laughter. You might put that dragon inside the bottle and have a child having caught a dragon inside the bottle. So now it's a really tiny little dragon. Or you might have the dragon laughing with joy because they have found the last bottle created by the great gnomish vase maker and potter and glass blower, he said, adding to the list of this gnome's accomplishments so he could get to bottle. But you see my thought process. I can link things together in random different ways by simply going, well, where do bottles come from? Glass blowing, because I watched that competition on famous glass blowers who had to blow glass and make bottles and stuff. All drawing on different aspects. Okay. So Freeform Association, a lot of fun. Practice it whenever you can. I love, love, love doing that. Finally, the last point is inspiration. Now, inspiration sounds very nebulous. How can you practice inspiration? Well, inspiration, really, I've been calling it this for a long time on the channel, but I've never personally kind of linked the two together, is a giant banana. And when you are stuck, you're going, okay, I need to create this idea for the war chief. I need to create this kind of adventure. I need to create this. I need to create that. I'm stuck. I have all my research, all my experience, all my Freeform Association. I can't come up with something. Insert a giant banana. Kickstart your inspiration by inserting a giant banana. Why is there a giant banana in the city? Why is there a giant banana falling on the PCs? Why is there a giant banana rolling down the hill? Why is there a giant banana floating in the harbor of the city? Where does it come from? What are people going to do about it? What can be done with it? Is it a real banana or is it a fake banana? Is it yellow? Is it green? Is it red? Is it on fire? Is it spewing out other bananas? Are there monkeys on board? Are there gorillas on board? What creature is something feasting on this? What it does is it gets your mind out of trying to solve a problem and it gets into this crazy kind of, let's just come up with a whole bunch of solutions. Then you use Freeform Association to say, okay, well, what if the banana was actually a boat with children who all had the plague on it? Well, that's dark, but anyway. What if this boat with children with the plague suddenly sailed into the city's harbor? Well, the PCs would maybe be hired to try and get the boat out, or to try and find a cure for the plague, or to prevent the zombie children from running around eating everybody. You can come up with that. But did you notice how that little moment of inspiration, which took us away from the problem, suddenly has given us a boat full of zombie children that are spreading plague? That's pretty terrifying as an adventure. Now I can use research. I know I've done some research on the Black Plague and how plague spreads. I can use my experience from living with COVID as to how people react. You'll have some people running away and hiding inside their doors, not wanting to come out, and you'll have other people rushing forward saying there's no such thing as the plague. All those kind of jokes aside, you see how it all comes together. So those 4 components that make up your imagination are really, really powerful. You can practice all of them, you can use all of them, and you can make sure that each one is as empowered as possible. It makes it so much easier to then just roll with this stuff on the fly whilst you're sitting there looking at your players, listening to them talk, zone out for a moment, let your imagination run wild, and then suddenly you've got an adventure that they can run with where none existed just by using your imagination. Link that with your constraints and your expectations from last week's video, as well as all of the other bits and pieces that we know go into making a good adventure and into making a good GM. And suddenly you are in a space where you are creating some pretty amazing stuff all out of thin air and on the fly. Until next week, massive thank you to you for watching all the way to the end. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the goblin bell. It makes the goblins so very, very happy. And a massive thank you to all of our patrons who support this channel and who will be getting NPC cards soon, I think, if my dates are right. Oh, I hope. Anyway, you're going to get NPC cards and your adventure cards coming up in the mail soon. So watch out for that. Until next week, however, I wish you and you and you and all of you the happiest of gaming.